Welcome to our Family Connection webinar, Where Do We Go From Here? Helping families navigate through their child's diagnosis. My name is Rowena Gessick. I'm a family outreach representative with the Office of Family and Community Engagement for Virginia Beach City Public Schools. I will be facilitating today's webinar, where we'll be learning about the steps to take after your child receives a disability and/or a medical diagnosis. Please be sure to watch in its entirety to gain valuable insight, information, and resources on today's topic. I'd like to take this opportunity to introduce our panelists. First, we have Dr. Janice Keener, Director of Psychological and Assessment Services and Developmental Pediatrics for CHKD, Children's Hospital of the King's Daughters, Assistant Professor of Clinical Pediatrics, EVMS, Eastern Virginia Medical School. Dr. Keener has extensive training in the assessment of autism spectrum disorder and obtained her research reliability in the administration of the Autism Diagnostic Observation Schedule, second edition from the Center for Autism and the Developing Brain in 2014. Dr. Keener's research and clinical interests include pediatric health psychology, early childhood assessment, consultation and liaison, and autism spectrum disorder. She is certified in the treatment of Tourette disorder from the Tourette Syndrome Behavioral Therapy Institute program. She is also bilingual and provides assessment and psychotherapy in Spanish and English. We also have Ms. Blackwell, MED, who is an instructional specialist with OPEC, the Office of Programs for Exceptional Children. Ms. Blackwell has more than 23 years of combined experience as a special education teacher, college administrator, and special education administrator in the K-12 setting. She received her BA in psychology from the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill. She also received master's degrees in special education and administration and supervision from Virginia Commonwealth University. Ms. Carrie Sheehan is also joining us. She is a school counselor for Virginia Beach City Public Schools. Ms. Sheehan has a master's degree in education, as well as licensure as a pre-K through 12 administration and supervision endorsement. She offers over 22 years of valuable experience as the 504 and IEP counselor at Ocean Lakes High School. And Sam Turner, a freshman at Salem High School's Visual Arts Program, a 2022 Tourette Association of America Youth Ambassador, and co-founder of the Tourette Association of America Mid-Atlantic Chapter Hampton Roads Support Group. Joining Sam is their mom, Mrs. Amber Turner, the Tourette Association of America Mid-Atlantic Chapter Chair, TAA trained educational in-service presenter, and co-founder of the Tourette Association of America Mid-Atlantic Chapter of Hampton Roads Support Group. I would also like to thank Miss Mary Hunt, our Administrative Office Associate from the Office of Family and Community Engagement, for providing technical assistance and support during our webinar. Today, we will hear a presentation from each panelist regarding the steps to take after your child receives a disability and/or a medical diagnosis. We all know that the journey can be a challenging one, so our hope is that this information will help families through that process. We are going to start with Dr. Janice Keener. Dr. Keener, thank you for being here.
For having me. Hold on one quick second. Let me get my screen up for everyone. All right. Really appreciate your very kind introduction. Thank you so much. and looking forward to sharing a little bit of my experiences working with families who've been newly diagnosed with a medical diagnosis or a learning disability, autism, Tourette's, anxiety, ADHD, things of that nature. So this is what I have kind of come up with over the years of what I've noticed families giving me feedback that has been the most helpful as they navigate the really tumultuous waters of what do we do now? We have a diagnosis that seems like a monumental task in of itself, right? You've spent sometimes years wondering what's going on with your kiddo, and now you finally have an answer. And what do we do, right? And the well-intending providers, we often just throw a lot of information and off you go. And poor parents are left wondering, oh my gosh, what do I do? What's happening next? So I just tried to break this down in very simple, short steps, which is exactly what I always tell parents to do. Break things down into manageable action items. Of course, in a perfect world, you would tackle all 300 things we recommend that you do. It's not feasible, right? So we need to first start with what are maybe the top 3 or 4 things we need to do. One foot in front of the other is what I always say. So first and foremost, I want to empower families to always ask for a copy of the report if it's a testing appointment, like with myself or another psychologist, or a copy of the diagnostic note that reveals what the diagnosis is. But I want to empower parents to always make sure you have your own copy of that. I love seeing families come into appointments with their binders, with all the information already there. That way they can easily share it with the school or other therapists or other key stakeholders in their child's life. So always ask for a copy of the report. An added thing for my bilingual families, always ask for a translated copy of the report. So here at CHKD, we've worked very closely with our translation services. And while they don't translate all 14 pages of my report, they'll do the beginning and the end, which includes a diagnostic summary and impressions and recommendations. I really always want families to have a copy of the report in the language they can readily read and understand what was said to them. And I also want to encourage parents to ask the provider, what should I do next? I know as families, we always want to be very respectful and just say, okay, thank you, and that's it. But this is your valuable time. This is your appointment. So come with a pen and paper, have your phone on the notes section open, and ask, what do I do first? What are the top 3 things I need to do? Um, and then I break it down into short-term and long-term goals. So short-term, I usually, for my kids diagnosed with autism, for example, or developmental delays, usually we need to get them into therapies, right? We need to get them into speech, occupational, physical, or behavioral therapies. So those are a short-term goal. And then the other kind of short-term goal is meet with the school personnel. If they already have an IEP, fantastic. Ask for a little quick IEP review meeting so you can give them the assessment report or the diagnostic note from the medical provider, because you want everything to be captured in your child's record. You want to be able to hand it off to someone and know that, okay, they're going to make copies or whatever and put it in the child's, make it a part of the formal IEP. Long-term goals, always ask, what should we be doing down the road? If they're 12 years old, looking at transition plan for high school. If they're going into elementary school, like they're a preschool kiddo, starting the evaluation process for an IEP. So definitely ask, please break this down. What do I need to do in the next week or two? Another thing that's really important is my little missing bullet point here. Ensure necessary referrals are submitted. And this may sound silly, but all of these therapies that we recommend require what? Insurance authorizations and referrals, right? So we can recommend till we're blue in the face, but if your insurance isn't noting it somewhere or submitting those referrals, therapy isn't going to start, or you're going to think that you have an appointment, but you can't actually go to it because the referral isn't in place. Or even worse, you go to the appointment and then you get a really big bill after, right? So it's up to us as parents to call the insurance companies and advocate and say, hey, I was just referred for speech from Dr. So-and-so. Did you receive the referral? If it's not in the system, always call the doctor's office and talk to the nurse or the referral coordinator and get that in the system. On a personal note, I spent 45 minutes today on the phone with our insurance company because the referral was written incorrectly and they weren't going to allow a therapy that's been going on for 4 years. So always important to advocate and make sure those referrals are in place. The other piece, if you're still unclear after the appointment, you go home and you're like, oh my goodness, why didn't I ask this question? Because it's a lot. I understand that a lot is given to you and you're not sure what should I do next. Most of our specialty clinics have a resource coordinator, a social worker, another key stakeholder, sorry, who can loop you back in with the provider. If you're like, I know I was supposed to do X, Y, or Z, but I don't remember why I had to do this. And this leads me to my next point. In the last couple of weeks, I had a family who I was supposed to see their child for a follow-up assessment appointment. We had broken it up into 2 appointments, and they asked to put a pin in the testing and come back in for a repeat consultation. And I said, absolutely. They had more questions. And they came in with their notebook with questions. And they just said, we're unclear what the steps are for the assessment process, let alone the diagnostic kind of follow-up requests or things that they should do, recommendations, sorry. And so they wanted to know how they would refer to me, what goes into actually assessing, how we come up with the diagnostic impressions. And they just needed everything broken down a little bit clearer. And so they could feel more comfortable with the assessment process itself. I really was really proud of them. I thought, wow, I wish more parents would feel empowered to ask for this sort of assistance, because if they would have waited until the follow-up appointment, which isn't scheduled until the end of November, they would have forgotten their question. I would have forgotten, maybe how to answer it, or who knows what could have happened. And I was just so proud of them that they felt empowered to say, we don't understand and we need some clarification. And at the end of all of this, I said, do you feel your questions have been answered? And they said, a huge weight has been lifted. Mind you, the diagnosis hasn't been given yet, but they just feel content and pleased that they understand the actual process. And it's very good feedback as a provider to get this, because it helps us remember, okay, we need to slow down and hear families and hear what they're saying and what they're asking and explain things in a stepwise process. So I was very proud of them. Okay, so this other recommendation that I absolutely love comes from Children's Hospital of Los Angeles's STAR program, School Transition and Reentry Program. So this was a program I was involved with many, many years ago, and it's based in oncology. And so it's a program where we work with kids who've been diagnosed with cancer, and they're out for treatment either consecutively or off and on. And they have to explain to their classmates what's going on with them. They have to explain why they're losing their hair, or why they're missing school, or why things may be a little bit different. And so we work with the kids to empower themselves on how to explain to their classmates what's going on with them. And this is an opportunity, and this starts, I worked with kids as young as kindergarten, learning to advocate for themselves, to have a voice. They can give as much or as little detail as they want. This is their story, not mine, and not even their parents. It's their story. So they're the authors of their story. And so it's a collaborative approach between the medical team, the parents, and the child. And we rehearse, we practice what to say. They bring in props sometimes. There's a really great video by Charlie Brown about kids with cancer. And a lot of times one of us would go with the child for their presentation. We would be available for questions if the kids had other questions, but the goal was to have the youngster who was diagnosed with the cancer be the one to explain what was going on with them. And I cannot tell you how amazing it was to see these kids so proud of themselves and how they were able to describe their experience, what's expected outcome, why they're absent, why they're losing their hair. And it ended up making it kind of fun. They weren't worried about being teased or bullied because there's no mystery, there's no secret. Here's what's going on. I put this video clip in here. I have Tourette's, but Tourette's doesn't have me. It's put on by HBO, I think, produced the video. And that's another one that I've used with a few of my youngsters who have Tourette's, and they're explaining it to their classmates. And a lot of times teachers will allow the kids to view it in the class together. It's a great way, it's a great video because it has kids explaining Tourette's for themselves and what their experience is. And love that video. Let's see, and that's actually all that I have for right now. I'm happy to, chat a little bit later, but I wanted to just let you know some key points to have in your pocket when you first get a diagnosis and what do you do next.
Greetings, everyone.
I'm sorry. Thank you, Dr. Keener. Sorry, Ms. Blackwell. That was great information, Dr. Keener, and insight from a medical perspective. I'll now turn it over to Ms. Blackwell, instructional specialist with OPEC, and following Ms. Blackwell is Ms. Sheehan, school counselor. Thank you.
Sorry about that. Greetings, everyone. I want to share some information with you about our Parent Support and Information Center and my role as the Parent Support Liaison. Next. I'm Carol Blackwell, the Parent Support Liaison for Virginia Beach City Public Schools. My primary role is to help parents of students with disabilities navigate special education services in our school system. I also support our school teams and our school community in every way that I can. If you need assistance, the best way to contact me is via email at carol.blackwell@vbschools.com. Next slide, please. The Parent Support Information Center is a service provided by our Office of Programs for Exceptional Children. We are located in the Plaza Annex Face Center at 641 Carriage Hill Road in Virginia Beach. Next. Our hours of operation are 8:30 to 4 o'clock. But for your convenience, I do ask that you call ahead, email so that we can make an appointment because I'm often in school buildings with parents supporting them at different meetings, IEP meetings and eligibility meetings, or at some trainings. I'm going to share a few objectives of the Parent Support and Information Center. Next. We have three main objectives, I should say, to ensure effective communication between parents and guardians and school personnel for the benefits of our students. Often parents are intimidated by going into the school by themselves to meet with a school team. So I want you to know that I'm here to support you in any way. I can meet with you before meetings, during meetings at the schools, or after meetings to go over any reports or answer any questions that you may have. I also serve as a resource for disability-related referrals. So if your child is diagnosed with a disability or medical condition and you think they may need special education services, please contact me, or you can contact any administrator at your child's school to provide a referral. And then our other objective is to provide service that will strengthen the bond between the home school and the community. I'm often out in the community supporting our partners in education, attending resource fairs, or other organizations that support children with disability as a support to our families and our community. All students identified with a disability and are eligible for special education services receive these services free of charge. We also have students that are enrolled in our preschool programs and they receive these services free of charge as well. All of these services are designed to assist and support our students with individuals with a variety of disabilities. The Individual with Disabilities Education Act recognizes 14 disability categories, and we serve these disabilities in our school system. They are as follows: autism, deafblindness, deafness, developmental delay, emotional disability, hearing impairment, intellectual disability, multiple disabilities, orthopedic impairment, other health impairment, specific learning disability, speech or language impairment, traumatic brain injury, and visual impairment, including blindness. So if your child is found, if you think your child has a disability that is recognized by IDEA or the state of Virginia, then there are some timelines that we have to follow. We do follow the Virginia Department of Education's regulations. So from the day that you make that referral, the school team has to meet with you within 10 administrative days to discuss your concerns review any medical documents or any other documents that you may have that would be supportive in making decisions for the school teams and the families. After that 10 days, the school team will decide to refer your child for a comprehensive evaluation to see if they are eligible for special education services. And it does take up to 65 administrative days, which rounds off to about 3 months. Sometimes the evaluations are completed sooner and the eligibility meetings are held within that 65 days or before the 65-day deadline. Once the child is found eligible for special education, then the IEP team will have to write an individualized education program within 30 calendar days of the eligibility date. Every year, a child's individual education program is reviewed for updates or to revise it for any needed services and supports. And then if your child is found eligible, they will go through the reevaluation process every 3 years to see if they are eligible to continue to receive services or if they need to be dismissed from the special education program. But once again, the parents are involved at every step of this process and they are a valuable partner in making all of these decisions. If a student is found eligible to receive special education services, like I just said, within those timelines, an IEP will be written within 30 days, and that's when your child's services will begin in the school setting. We do have to have parents give permission to implement these services because Virginia is a consent state and we cannot provide any services without the parents' consent. Again, the parents or legal guardians are very important members of the eligibility process and the IEP team. We encourage your participation and all of your information that is shared will be taken into consideration for developing the best individual education program we can for your child. If you need additional information about the special education process or any of the following services, please contact me and I would love to meet with you. We can meet by phone or in person to discuss any of your needs. And some of the services that we offer are advocacy for your student, child find services, community resources, a development of the IEP program. We discuss your parental rights. And also I can provide information about parent support groups and networking. Some additional services are access to our preschool assessment center for evaluations. We have preschool programs. Of course, again, the special education process. I am a consultant for our Special Education Advisory Committee and so are some other of our team members. So we invite you to attend any of those meetings that may be of interest. And I also share information about camps, summer camps and activities, as well as transitioning from school to adulthood. More information about our special education programs can be found on our Virginia Beach City Public Schools website. But again, I know it's overwhelming. There's a lot of information on our website. So please feel free to reach out to me at any time via email, by phone, or again, for your convenience, try to make an appointment if you want to stop by and we can sit down and talk about all of your concerns. This is a very special book produced by the Virginia Department of Education. It's very parent friendly. And I advise you, if you have any questions to review this document, it's available in a PowerPoint presentation as well as a Word document. The link below is access to the PowerPoint, but I also have some information about how to access the Word document in a later slide. These are some statistics that may be of interest to you. 10% to 15% of our children in our nation's schools have a chronic health condition such as asthma, allergies, diabetes, and seizure disorders. In the 21-22 school year, we served 8,361 students in our special education program. The 5 top disability categories for students receiving special education in Virginia Beach City Public Schools are: number 1, a specific learning disability. Usually children have a specific learning disability, have weaknesses in reading, writing, or math. The second highest category of students served is other health impairment. Typically, these students have attention deficit weaknesses. The third category is autism. The fourth category is developmental delay. And then the next highest category is emotional disability. These are some additional resources for families. The Virginia Department of Education, the self-determination project called I'm Determined, the Virginia Beach Department of Human Services, the Virginia Board for People with Disabilities, the Independence Center, the Center on Transition Innovations, and then there are just a few more that I want to share with you on the next slide. There's a parent organizer with educational resources. It is a valuable tool for parents. It has all kinds of resources, including tutorial sessions for students, and a lot of information, family supports, tons of resources for families. So I encourage you to visit that website. Again, I want to encourage you to visit the Critical Decision for Families with Disabilities. That link or that website, again, is very parent friendly, and it helps you to decide, on making choices as you move forward with the referral process and the identification progress, as well as any information that you may need for your child through referral, through up until graduation. And then the PC organization is another very good resource for parents with children with disabilities. It's called the Parent Education Advocacy Training Center. We offer a lot of resources for parents that are provided from that center. And then the Virginia Family Special Education Connection, another great resource, very parent friendly, has lots of valuable resources. And again, just recently we produced a webinar called Anatomy of an IEP, Individualized Education Program webinar. That's available on our Family Connection webinar. It goes into quite a bit of detail about the special education process. So I encourage you to view that YouTube video as well. Thank you so much for having me tonight. Again, I welcome you all to reach out to me if you need, have any questions or need additional information.
Thank you, Ms. Blackwell. We'll now turn it over to Ms. Sheehan.
Hello, everyone. My name is Carrie Sheehan. I am a high school counselor at Ocean Lakes High School. And I am happy to be here this afternoon talking about where do we go from here. Many of the students who are found to be eligible for 504 plans or IEPs are found to be eligible in elementary or middle school. However, there are a few that do not require any services or accommodations or supports until they reach the high school level. But many of them are already receiving their services. Having trouble with my PowerPoint, I apologize. It's not moving on to the next screen. Thank you. So I've been at Ocean Lakes for the past 22 years. I'm very happy there, and I hope that the students that I work with are as well. I'm also the parent of a young man who had an IEP in school, so I do understand some of your concerns and fears a little more maybe than some other professionals. Of the students on my caseload, all of them have an IEP or a 504 plan. I think that's about 275 students right now. That is my email address if you need to contact me for any reason. However, your school counselor should be able to support you as well. We also have instructional specialists on staff with our city schools, and I'll be happy to put you in touch with one of them if needed. Section 504, or the Section 504 of the Rehabilitation Act of 1973, as amended, is a civil rights law that prohibits discrimination against individuals with disabilities. It is similar to an IEP but different in some ways. This statute ensures that a qualified student with a disability receives reasonable accommodations necessary for that student to access their education or school-related programs and activities. So how do we determine who's eligible? Any student who has a physical or mental impairment that substantially limits a major life activity may be eligible. Additionally, students with health problems, including allergies or anaphylactic reactions or other medical impairments, may be entitled to rights and protections under Section 504. So as you see, our timeline is similar in some ways, but a little bit different compared to the IEP process. The referral to the eligibility meeting still must be held within 10 days. The eligibility to the initial Section 504 plan is 30 days. We don't require a period of 65 days for any testing or evaluation because the team makes the determination at the time of the meeting altogether. The annual review of the plan happens every year annually, and then every 3 years, just like an IEP, the student's eligibility for the 504 would be reevaluated to make sure that they continue to qualify and require the services and supports. So the biggest part of an eligibility meeting for a 504 plan is a records review process. So when a parent or guardian attends an eligibility meeting for a 504 plan or a reeval, the members of the committee completing that review should include the 504 administrator, which is an assistant principal or the designee, the Section 504 coordinator, which could be your student's school counselor, or another person who is the 504 coordinator in that building. And then if they are not, we would like the school counselor to be there. One or more of the student's teachers has to be in the meeting with you to share information from the classroom. And then the parent or guardian, the student, if it's appropriate, and other staff who might be knowledgeable of the student's functioning and the meaning of the data to be discussed in the meeting. I would not necessarily know medical information, so we may need to have the school nurse attend the meeting with us. We may need the school psychologist to explain testing information, or the school social worker to talk about some supports that maybe would happen with outside services. In the elementary school, it's usually the assistant principal who facilitates the 504 meeting, while the school counselor usually facilitates them at the middle and high school levels. The committee will review a student's present level of performance, teacher reports and comments, their health and development, and the area of concern. Information on how the student functions in the school environment, as well as pertinent information from educational records, such as aptitude and achievement tests, report cards, medical, psychological, and any other reports will be reviewed and documented during the meeting. Input from the adult student or minor student's parent or guardian shall also be requested, presented, and considered by the committee and then documented in the documentation that we create that day. So what are important topics to help my child who has a 504 plan navigate the middle and high school years? What is an academic plan? And when should it be created and by whom? An academic plan maps out for your child the classes that they're going to take between the time that they begin high school and graduation. The counselors sit down with the students and create those. And it's important for the parents to be aware of any issues that may arise that need to be addressed on the 504 plan. For instance, Health and PE 9 and Health and PE 10 are required by the state for graduation. Health and PE 10 includes the book portion of driver's ed, but the physical education is included throughout both of those classes. So if there are accommodations or supports that need to be included in the plan, it's really important that the parents are aware of which classes are coming next to address any concerns, maybe with the child's doctor, with the school nurse, and with the PE teacher, things like that. What types of diplomas are offered for my child who has a 504 plan? A 504 plan would not change the type of diploma that your child can seek in high school for graduation. This verified credit and what is it and how many does my child need? Are there accommodations available for students with disabilities? Verified credit is a course that matches the SOL exam, and both of them would need to be passed for graduation. For instance, if your child took the biology class and passed it, and then took the biology SOL and passed it, that would be a science verified credit. There are 5 of those needed for graduation. And yes, there are accommodations which can be discussed at the time of the meeting, depending on the need of your student and their particular situation. What if my child is capable but is running out of time to complete the diploma requirements? How can my child use the extra time wisely? I have this conversation with parents rather often because some of the students who have a 504 plan have it because perhaps they have a medical issue which can greatly affect their attendance in school. So we may build into the schedule over the years an extra study block or extra time within the schedule for the student who does have treatments of some kind or other issues that impact their progress. Students with a 504 or an IEP are permitted by law to remain in school until the semester in which they turn 22. So sometimes it's important that a parent be aware that the child can finish high school after 5 years rather than 4. We do have many different options for vocational training that may be added to the child's schedule in addition to academic classes that are needed. So please don't hesitate to contact me if you have any questions about that or your child's counselor. Post-secondary concerns. This is a big one that I hear pretty often. I've heard that I need to change my child's IEP to a 504 plan prior to graduation. Is this true? No, not necessarily. Your child's IEP will end upon their attainment of a standard or advanced high school diploma. When they go to college, they can bring the IEP with them to the college and explain to the accessibility office or to whomever they meet to discuss the plan that's needed. They can bring all of that information with them to the college, and it's up to the child, who's now an adult, and the person who's the representative from the college to create a plan that will meet their needs for access to any class they'd like to take. So you don't have to worry about switching that over. It doesn't have to be a 504 plan when they leave. The college is going to create a plan for them when they get there. My child will turn 18 before they graduate from high school, and I'm worried about decisions she or he will make as this transition takes place to post-secondary paths. We have some students who have some rather significant needs. Some of them are perfectly fine having a parent or guardian who has power of attorney. And some students who have more needs may require a guardian to care for them. That's probably something that should be talked about with your lawyer to determine whether the guardianship is appropriate. The power of attorney simply says that you have the right to help your child make any decisions. The guardianship actually removes the decision right from the child. So that's something that is a personal family decision. But once the child turns 18, the rights and responsibilities transfer to them. Does my child have to earn an advanced diploma to attend college? Absolutely not. And are there other pathways and options out there for my child in order to be a successful adult? Of course, there are. We have, like I said, Advanced Technology Center, Vocational and Technical Career Center. We have work experience pathways, supported employment, internships, on-the-job training, so many different options. So please do contact your child's counselor. Not everybody goes to college. Not everybody wants or needs to go to college. So thank you very much for your attention today. And if I can be of any help, please don't hesitate to reach out. And I wish you all the best as you travel through this experience.
Thank you very much, Ms. Sheehan. Thank you to both Ms. Blackwell and Ms. Sheehan. Such valuable information and resources for our families. So now finally, I'll take it over to Sam Turner and their mom, Amber Turner.
All right. Hi, everyone. My name is Amber Turner, and
I'm Sam Turner.
you have already read or heard our introduction at the beginning of the webinar. So I'm not going to read that again, but we are 4 years into our Tourette journey, and it has been a ride. This is my second go with a child with special needs. My first child is high functioning on the spectrum, and he is a freshman engineering student at Virginia Tech. And I've been through it twice. I know how overwhelming it can be. So I wanted to just talk to you about some of the things that have helped us along the way. So you've received a diagnosis. What do you do next? I have 5 steps that I can recommend, and I'm going to go through those steps in the next few minutes. Step 1 is to maintain a healthy mindset. Step 2, build your community, understand your diagnosis, advocate at school, and make sure you're finding credible medical resources. Step 1, maintaining a healthy mindset. I love this picture. Whenever you're on an airplane, they tell you to put your oxygen mask on first and then help your child. If you want to be an effective advocate, you have to put your oxygen on first. If you don't take care of yourself, you can't take care of your child in the best possible way. You have to be able to honor your emotions. It is okay to have feelings about what you're going through and about your fears for your child and how it's going to affect them. You absolutely need to just make time to take care of yourself. Find something that you can do, even if it's just something little that you do just for you. Information equals power. The more information you can get about what's going on with your child and what their diagnoses mean will help you feel more in control. I highly recommend building your communication skills. It helps so much in just being able to communicate with doctors, with schools, with organizations where you might get involved with your children's. For example, we're involved with the Tourette Association. With my son, we were involved with the Autism Society. And then last but not least, make sure you know that it's okay to draw boundaries. As a special needs parent, time is valuable, and we want to do as much as we can for our kids, but it's okay to draw a boundary and say, I can't volunteer for that. I can't volunteer for this. We need to not go to this today because it's going to overwhelm my child. And it's okay to just say, we have some boundaries that we have to follow as a family to put our family first. Step 2 is build your community. Find your tribe, love them hard. I cannot stress this enough. Some of my best friends that I've had the longest are other autism parents, because we just get it. We can sympathize with each other. We can cry with each other. We can laugh with each other. We can bang our heads against brick walls with each other. When my child Sam got their diagnosis, the first thing I did was start looking for ways that I can plug Sam in to feeling in control of her life. Within 9 months of diagnosis, we went to Camp Twitch and Shout, which was hosted by Camp Twin Lakes in Georgia. For anybody out there watching this, Camp Twin Lakes is a whole, system of camps in Georgia that host special needs camps all summer long. So every week there's a different special needs camp going on. Ours is for Tourette. Every kid at that camp has to have a Tourette diagnosis. It's fully medically staffed. We have a neurologist on site for the camp that's provided by the organization TICS, who sponsors the camp. And they have them for autism. They have them for juvenile diabetes, juvenile arthritis, celiacs. They just have like anything and everything. So these kids have a week to feel completely normal. You can look at these pictures and just see the pure joy on the kids' faces as they laugh. I don't know what happened in those pictures that made you guys laugh like that,
I
but
don't remember. I think we were just telling us to do something silly, and then we did something silly, and then
Yeah.
we were all laughing.
so what's the best part of camp, especially that first year when you went?
I think for a lot of people with Tourette, it can be hard to find a community that is accepting because a lot of people don't understand it. It's really misrepresented in the media and stuff like that. It's where a lot of people get their information from. So having access and being able to attend Camp Twitch and Shout was really important to me. It really helped me realize that I am not alone. I met my best friend there. I love them so much, and they've been such a great, amazing friend. I've made so many connections. I've reconnected with friends I haven't seen in a while, and it's really just been a place that has always been a safe place for me, and somewhere I know that I will always be accepted, no matter what.
Yeah. So people travel from all over the country to go to these camps in Georgia every year. Resource fairs on the bottom part of that screen. I'm sitting there with Sam and my other Hampton Roads support group leader, Sarah. We attended the care fair that VVCPS hosted at the beginning of the year. Just to get those, you could see all of our resources we have came from the Tourette Association of America, and a lot of people picked up information. We had a lot of people stopping by that had a family member who they thought might have Tourette, but they didn't know how to talk to them about it. And so they were able to pick up and get resources. And there are going to be tables there for you, most likely for your kid's diagnosis as well, just to help you. And you can also find all the community organizations that can provide resources for you at these fairs. Youth ambassador training in DC and Advocacy Day. We went in March. Sam applied to be a youth ambassador and was one of the 60 kids they selected in 2022 to go. We spent a couple of days in DC, and the Tourette Association of America brings the youth in as a way to empower them and teaches them to go out and advocate for themselves. They actually have a presentation they've developed, a professional presentation that they train all these kids to deliver. So when these kids walk out of training, they can go into any school, they can go into police departments, they can go into community organizations, and they can go out and teach people about Tourette. The second part of it is Advocacy Day. Get your child involved in that. A lot of these organizations organize Capitol Hill Advocacy Days. We did it virtually this year, and we sat in meetings with all of our representatives that represent us in Congress and in the Senate for Virginia and Virginia Beach. And we were just able to really ask them to vote for certain pieces of legislation and support funding for the TAA. What do you think? What did you think about Advocacy Day?
Yeah, Advocacy Day was really cool. It was really cool to meet with the different staff members of our government and things like that. I really like being able to share my story and listen to people who had maybe connections. It was a really cool opportunity, and I think the whole experience of even training and stuff, we really connected. A lot of us really connected. I still have like a big group chat that we all talk in, and it's actually active. And we're all like, we just really connected, and it was a really fun thing to do.
Mm-hmm. And some of what you still do is talk about the different things you've done as youth ambassadors. All right, going on. Step 3 is understand your diagnosis, learn everything you can about it. I know that when my child was diagnosed with Tourette, I knew very little about what it really was. We have this iceberg image, and you can see at the top of the iceberg is what you see. It's the motor and the vocal tics. I had no clue all this stuff underneath in the bottom of that iceberg can happen. And a lot of these co-occurring conditions happen with a lot of our kids with special needs. They don't just have one, they have several. So really learn so that you can truly help your child by seeing all of the doctors and the specialists that you might need to. We didn't just see a neurologist, we went and saw Dr. Keener and for further diagnosis, and we went and did therapy with Dr. Keener. So there's a whole plethora of help out there. You just have to know where to find it. And you'll do that by getting involved in your organizations and understanding your diagnosis. Advocating at school. As a parent, it can be really intimidating to walk in and say, I'd like this for my child. I recommend that you familiarize yourself with the 504 IEP process, and there have been a lot of fabulous resources already presented here today. Create a binder for your child and keep all your notes, all your communications in there, your diagnoses, research that you've done. Feel free to make a section for that. Contact your school guidance counselor to set up a 504 IEP meeting, and make sure you put it in writing. I believe they have to be in writing officially. Email the teachers in the school. Every year we email the school counselor, administration, all of the teachers, anybody who might interact with my child, an introduction email. Include a happy photo of your kid, a short description of their interests and the challenges that they face. If applicable, set up a student presentation or a faculty in-service presentation. Our particular organization provides it for Tourette. However, there might be those services with other organizations as well. And if you want any more information about special education laws, 504 IEP plans, I have a couple of websites below that have some resources for you. Step 5, find credible medical resources. Every organization, especially the big ones, are compiling those resources for you. If you go to their website, ours, we specifically have a find a provider, and we have centers of excellence around the country where you can go be seen. Just look for those resources with those organizations. And that is it for us. All right.
Wow, that was an amazing presentation. Congratulations, Sam, and all the hard work you, your mom, and advocates are doing. I appreciate you sharing your story and sharing the information with us. So now what I'm going to do is turn it back to our panelists for some last minute information highlights and additional insights. So we can go in the order that our panelists spoke. Dr. Keener.
So I was fascinated to hear a common theme throughout everyone's presentation: collaboration. So it's a team effort. It's the schools, it's the medical team, it's the families. We're all on the same page and we're all working towards the same goal. So I was really, it warmed my heart to just hear everyone, the themes. I'm like, wow, this is really coming together so nicely. And collaboration, I think, is the big one. And we're all here for the same reason.
I agree. Thank you, Dr. Keener. Ms. Blackwell?
One thing I'd like to add, please make sure that you update your students' medical records and emergency records at your child's school once they get a medical diagnosis or a disability. And if they have a care plan, make sure you share that with the nurse or any of your school children's teachers as well. That's very important. And I just want you to know how much I enjoy working with this team and all of the families and school teams, you know, in Virginia Beach. So I'm here to support all of you. And if I can be of assistance to any of you, please reach out to me.
Thank you, Ms. Blackwell. Ms. Sheehan?
The only thing I can think of left to share is if your child does require, for whatever reason, to have an EpiPen available, I would suggest that you reach out to the school nurse and ask if you can bring in an EpiPen that has expired and show the teachers or the staff exactly how hard you have to jab that needle into the child's skin to make sure that their life is saved. We had a mom bring in a grapefruit and half a dozen EpiPens, and you have to smash the grapefruit to make sure that that life-saving medicine gets to the place it needs to get to the child's needs. So like I said, every child is different, every situation is different. If you need support, we are all here to support you. Don't stop. If somebody says no, just keep asking until your question is answered. That's it for me. Thanks, everybody. It's been a joy to be here. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Sheehan. Appreciate it. And Turners.
I was just going to say, in regards to communication with your child's teachers, that is so key. I send these long emails at the beginning of the year, and when something new comes up, another long email. And I feel like I hope I'm not annoying them. And in the words of one of our favorite teachers ever, who both of my kids have had, he said, Amber, he said, the more I know, the more I can help your child. I am thankful when parents tell me what's going on with their kids so that I can be that support for them. If I don't know, I can't help them. So definitely just keep those communication lines open always, always, always. And that's it.
Thank you. That was a very good point, Mrs. Turner. Sam, any last words of encouragement?
I was gonna say, make sure that you definitely do a lot of research and that you are considering that it is both a thing that you and your child are going through, and it is just as difficult for the child as well, because a lot of times they don't know what's going on with themselves. Sometimes they don't even know much about their disorder, and helping them learn about it is helping the both of you. Remember that the both of you are in it, and yeah.
Very good. Thank you for that insight. I appreciate it. So many thanks to our panelists for their hard work, insight, and for taking the time to contribute to our webinar, Where Do We Go From Here? Helping families navigate through their child's diagnosis. Special thanks to Ms. Mary Hunt, our office manager here at FACE, and also our technical assistance and support for today's webinar. Thank you all for being here and for watching. Take care.
Thank you.
Thank you.